Okay, so factoring means writing an expression as a product of factors. And remember, product means multiplication, right? There's our little dot. So when we factor, we are taking a common multiple, basically, and pulling it out so that we can write an expression as a product, one thing times another thing, a product. Okay, here are two expressions, 3x plus 9 and 3 times the quantity x plus 3. These are equal. They say the same thing. One is not factored. Look at this one here that says not factored. To get to this value, all we did was distributed, right? We distributed in to get rid of the parentheses. But if we want to write this as factored, we can divide both of these terms. If I divide 3x by 3, I get x. If I divide 9 by 3, I get 3. And because I divided them both by 3, I put that out in front of my parentheses. They say the same thing. One is in factored form, and one is not in factored form. So think of factoring as reverse distributive property. So we're basically going the other direction from distributing, and we're dividing. We're factoring out a common factor and writing it as something times another quantity. All right. So here's what you'll see, like on the homework or whatever, our tests and quizzes. It'll say factor using the GCF. So this is going to make us remember what we talked about earlier in the year. The GCF is the greatest common factor. So the number, the biggest number that goes into both of the terms. All right, what is the GCF of 18 and 30? Colin? 6. GCF is 6. So if I'm just going to write this out here. You don't always have to write it, but just for our reference, the GCF of 18 and 30 is 6. So what you do is you put this number that is the one you are factoring out, and that we're factoring out the GCF. And then we put our parentheses. And then what we do is, since we're doing reverse distribution, the opposite of multiplying, we are going to divide each of these terms by 6. What's 18 divided by 6? 3. Plus, what's 30 divided by 6?
5.
Good. So this is factored form. Now, it's a little weird when we have numbers rather than like variables, because yeah, we could simplify this and get an answer. So I don't love it as much when they do the numbers as they do the variables. But if we distribute this in, we should end up with the expression we started with. Distribute that in. 6 times 3 is 18, plus 6 times 5 is 30, and that is indeed the same as what we started with. Okay? So you should be able to do factored form and get back to the original expression. It's pretty easy. Let's do another one. Okay, 20 minus 12. We're going to do the same thing. Factor using the GCF. Don't do the math. Don't do 20 minus 12. But we're going to factor out the GCF. What is the GCF of 20 and 12? Roger.
2.
Bigger.
4.
Yeah. 4 is our GCF. So where do I put that GCF? When I set this up, where should I put it? Tate?
On the left side.
Good. Outside of the parentheses. And then, in order to get our inside numbers, we divide both of the terms by that GCF. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Notice we have a minus sign. So what we're going to put in the middle will be a minus sign. And 12 divided by 4 is 3. So that is our factored form. You can check by distributing. 4 times 5 is 20. minus 4 times 3 is 12, and that is the same expression we started with. So we did it correctly. All right, let's do some with variables. All right, same thing. Factor using the GCF. And remember, when factoring, you are dividing out the value from each term. So opposite of distribution, instead of multiplying, we are dividing. For example. Okay, we're going to factor out the GCF from 3x minus 42. And we're going to write this in factored form. What is the GCF? What is the greatest common factor of 3x and 42? Miles. Good. So our GCF is 3. That means that's the number that we are going to divide out or factor out. So I put this 3 outside my parentheses. Don't forget that. If you forget the 3 out in front, it's not correct. And then we divide every term by 3 in order to figure out what goes inside our parentheses. What is 3x divided by 3? Very good. X. 3 divided by 3 is 1, so 1x or x. And 42 divided by 3 is? 6. I was going to say yes. 14. I think it's 14.
Yeah.
No. Is it?
Yeah, it's 14. 28 plus 14.
42. Okay. Plus 14. Okay. This is our factored form. This is your answer. If you're asked to factor out a 3, you pull that 3 outside the parentheses. You divide every term by 3, and that's factored form. How can you check if that's correct?
You
Take-
can times them by 3.
Good.
Use the distributive property.
Very good. You can use a distributive property, and you should get back to your original expression, which it is. So we did it right. Let's do one more. Maybe one more, maybe 2 more. I can't remember. All right, we're going to factor out the GCF. So the first thing we need to figure out, what is the GCF of these two terms? Hudson. 3. I think it's bigger than 3. What do you think, Sam?
9.
9? Yeah, I think it's 9. So GCF is 9. Okay, that means 9 is going outside our parentheses. And we will divide each of these terms by 9 to figure out what goes inside the parentheses. 63z divided by 9 would give me what, Miles? 7z. Don't forget your variable. It was a negative sign, so we bring down that negative sign. And Colin, what's 27y divided by 9? 3y. And that is factored form. Okay, we factored out the GCF. That means it goes outside the parentheses. Divided everything else by that GCF. Last one. Word problem. It says you buy 5 books for a total, that should say a total, it kind of all got smushed together, of 5x minus $15. It says, how much does each book cost? How much does each book cost? Well, we know, based on what we were told, that 5 books cost 5x minus 15. How are we going to find one book? How are we going to find one book? If 5 books cost a total of 5x minus 15. How do we find one book? Liam, what do you think?
You could divide by 5.
Yeah. Yes.
You could divide it by 5.
Yes.
And 15.
Very good. We need to use our math vocabulary. What should we do?
It's 1x minus 3. It's x minus 3.
Yes. We need to factor out 5. Right? Or, as you were saying, divide both terms by 5. If we factor out a 5, that's saying that there are 5 of these books, right? If we factor out a 5, it'll tell us what one book is. So we divide each of these by 5, and we get x minus 3. So what this is saying is that 5 books cost how much? More than $3. What's the whole thing?
X minus 3.
X minus 3. It sounds weird, It sounds weird to say that each book costs X minus 3 because we don't know what X is. But that's what the problem is asking us, to use what they've given. How much does each book cost?
X minus 3.
Yes. Because we divided by 5, and that gave us X minus 3. Okay? It is okay to start to get a little bit comfortable with being uncomfortable with all these variables that don't necessarily always go away. It's okay. All right. I believe that is all we've got today.